I don't feel that the graveyard is where they are. I had to confront myself with the tragedy over and over again. Waking up every morning to an empty bed, I think everybody who lost a partner will understand that kind of emptiness. I guess I was still thinking like, oh yeah, they're just gonna take another flight and they will be back home. In a way, it feels like yesterday, but in other ways, it's like, it's not as acute anymore, the pain, as it was 3 years ago.
And tell me about Shahzada and Suleiman. What were they like as people?
Mischievous. And they just wanted, very curious about life, about living, and just really fun-loving people as well.
How has it been without them for the last 3 years and coming to terms with that?
Well, waking up every morning to an empty bed, I think everybody who lost a partner will understand that kind of emptiness. So Shahzada was a night person, I'm a morning person. So the nights are actually not that difficult for me because it was often that he would go to bed after me. But it's the mornings, waking up, that, you know, even after 3 years, I still turn around sometimes. I'm like, want to tell him something or what I dreamt. And it's sort of like, oh, well, he's not here anymore.
And you described them as quite curious. Is that how they ended up going on this experience to go and see the Titanic? Yeah. Could you talk a little more to that and how this experience came about?
So they were interested in so many things. You know, we went to Greenland and they were interested in the glaciers and everything. So it's curiosity in learning was a big part of them, and that's why they would just wanted to learn, because it is such a well-known ship and there are so many stories around it. I mean, movies around it, and it also caused, you know, to change a lot of how ships are now also operating, and that was just like really interesting to them, and that's why they wanted to see it.
And this would have been a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I mean, I've heard you describe how you saw the advert for it and almost didn't believe that it was true that you could go down that far to see the Titanic.
Well, now I would think it was AI generated. At that time it wasn't, but it looked like a fantastical kind of can't be real kind of ad. Like I didn't think it's real, but our travel agent then confirmed that it is.
You obviously went out there as a family, and you describe in your book at the start about going home without them.
Because we never traveled alone. Like, we always traveled together, unless it was for work. We would always travel together as a family, or at least Shahzada and I together. And I mean, at that point, it didn't even set in fully, because then his family was around us as well. So we weren't alone, but, well, they were missing. And it was just surreal. And yeah, it hasn't sunk in at that point. I mean, I guess I was still thinking like, oh yeah, they're just going to take another flight and they will be back home.
You've written this wonderful book, 96 Hours. Could you tell me a little bit more about the inspiration of writing it and also the title, 96 Hours?
So I started writing it more as a cathartic, therapeutic offload of my emotions. Just wanted to get everything out, what I'm feeling or what I'm not feeling, or what is just what I'm thinking. And the title was obviously a very difficult one, because it was the number of hours of oxygen they had in the sub. And that, so I'm counting down the hours in the book.
And at the start of the book, you talk about how you'd be glad to never see the ocean again. How does it feel now when you do see the ocean?
Oh, no, that has changed, yeah. Initially, I'm just like, because there was nothing else but water for miles and miles and miles. And now I feel connected to the ocean. So every time I see ocean water, I need to dip my feet in and connect with them. I feel that they are now part of the ocean, and I feel like connected when I'm near the ocean. So that has changed. I love the ocean, and I'm not scared of it, which is very important to me as well. That I'm not didn't make me fear the ocean, and so I feel connected.
Yes, because in another part of your book, as I read it, I noticed you'd said that it was difficult at the funeral because you didn't have bodies to bury.
No, we didn't.
So is it almost closure for you when you go to the ocean now, as you just described, and that's where you feel like you maybe visit them and can connect with them there?
Yes, definitely. I mean, there is. I don't feel that the graveyard is where they are. I feel that the ocean, they are just literally part of the ocean. And I don't know, when the ocean kind of swirls around my feet, it's just a really good feeling, and I feel like close to them.
It's been 3 years since the tragedy, and you've had to almost deal with your grief in this journey on a very public, worldwide stage. How has that been to navigate? I can imagine it must be extremely difficult. I mean, when you go through these tragedies, to not only grieve, but do it so publicly and with a lot of eyes on you.
It wasn't fun. If they would have died any other way, the outcome, the consequences would have been the same. Like, we still would miss them, right? But I wouldn't have been so publicly scrutinized and constantly almost haunted in the beginning. The public nature definitely added a very complex layer to the whole grief, because it was just really difficult. Can't really describe it.
It must be such a difficult thing to deal with, but how over the years have you learnt to deal with your grief? I mean, you've written your book and you talk about there's been a lot of people who have supported you, but there must have been days where you probably thought you wouldn't be able to get through this.
Oh, there were many days where I couldn't get out of bed, or even like getting through the day. It was like hour by hour, like, okay, let's get to 11 o'clock, let's get to 11:30, and then 12. And then I had really good professional help. I had help from family and friends that just made sure that I make it till 12 o'clock, and then from 12 to 12:30. And I think that was, I couldn't have done it alone. And then I think that's also the whole topic about grief. You can't do it alone. I don't think so. No, should you? I think it is something you should be able to rely on others as well. So that doesn't mean that I'm never angry, as in, like, anger is a part of grief. So is sadness, so is guilt, so is despair, denial. There are so many emotions that I've gone through, which are normal for grieving, unfortunately, because, well, and then they overwhelm you as well sometimes. So you name an emotion, I'm sure I've gone through it, and a lot of guilt as well, in the sense of, that first time you laugh again if something, I remember somebody sent me this really stupid meme. It was a cat, and it was so stupid that I had to laugh. And then I felt like, oh my God, I felt guilty, because how can I laugh? Because my loved ones are not here anymore. So it's like this whole kind of working through, so those kind of firsts again as well. The first time you appreciate the sunlight again, and these sort of things, right? It's you have to relearn that it's okay to do that and allow yourself, but it's a process.
And what are some of the other support systems you've relied on? You mentioned your dog Stig earlier. Tell me a little bit more about your dog and that sort of thing.
Well, walking is a huge part for me. Walking was a huge part for me to heal, going into nature, hugging trees, and Stig is basically, my dog was many times the reason why I got out of bed, because I knew, okay, poor guy needs to get walked, needs to do his business, and and that sometimes was the only reason why I would even get out of the house. And I'm very grateful to him for that, because he was always happy to come with me whenever, and even if it was just for 10 minutes, he would always be grateful and smile his big puppy smile at me, and just drag me out, even if it's raining. And actually those really bad days, especially when also the weather was not right, they were very cathartic, because then I could just cry with the rain, and also be angry and scream, and he would not judge. He would just be there and be by my side and just be happy.
And I wonder if you could tell me a bit more about Shahzada and Suleiman and their legacy, because I suppose you're very keen for them not just to be remembered as victims of the Titan sub-tragedy. Tell me a bit more about what they stood for and what you think their legacy is.
Shahzada was a very generous man. For example, every time when something happened, like for example, you were hardly missed by a car, like just by a hair's breadth, and then you were not hit by the car, and then he's like, yeah, you need to give something to the poor. And so these sort of beliefs that if something good happens to you, or if you're prevented that something bad happens to you, you should give back to other people. And I really learned that from him, because I didn't know that from my culture. And just generally that giving nature of his, I really enjoyed learning that from him, because charity, there are many ways of doing charity, but there's just constantly also thinking about how you can help others, and that was a huge part of him. And well, he was curious to a fault. Sometimes he dragged me through London without a plan. I'm like, at least tell me, get a coffee in the end. No, we got just gonna walk through London and just gonna explore. It drove me nuts, but it was just like, he loved it. Just walking for walking's sakes and exploring self. And especially a city like London, like around every corner there's something to explore, or other cities when we would travel. He just loved walking around endlessly without any aim and goal. And Suleiman was like that as well. So I was just like very exhausting sometimes, because I just like, okay, at least I need to know where we are heading. But no, he wouldn't do that. But it was good, because we learned, and then you see things that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. And Suleiman was the same. He said, come on, mother, let's walk. And he would go on a lot of walks with me. That's why I also did the walk last year from Hampton Court to Glasgow, because that was our thing. Sometimes he would stay up at night, like all night, like teenagers do. And then if I get up early morning, he then would be still awake. And then he's like, come on, I go with you for a walk, and then I go to sleep. So he often would walk with me. He would walk the dog with me, and then he would go to sleep, and I would start my day. And then we wouldn't see each other until next morning, So, because by the time he got up, I would be going to sleep. But yeah, he loved walking with me. And that's why I think also walking is so important for me, because that was really when we would talk about stuff, and, he would open up about his thoughts, about his, what's going on in his life. That was our way to connect.
It's a really lovely memory to carry with you. And I wondered, obviously, Suleiman was so young when this happened. What was his hopes and plans for the future? Like, what work did he want to go into?
Well, he wanted to work with his father. He wanted to go into the family business, and so that's why I encouraged him to do a lot of trips with his father alone as well, because I always felt that if you have memories to look back to, then conflicts in the business later on, like you know how it is, like you will always have some conflicts with colleagues. And so if you work with family, you have memories to fall back on, and he always wanted that. And that's why he wanted to have these explorations with his dad alone. very consciously. He says he wanted to do it with his father, and that's what he did. So with me, he would walk, and with his dad, he did the exciting stuff. But I think both was fun.
What were some of the other exciting things they did together?
They went to Africa together for a safari, alone, and they did what is it called? Whitewater rafting. They did that together, and hiking together, and quite a few things. What was the other one? It's like a safari, and then they also would go for walks together, like the city walks and these sort of things. So they really enjoyed that together. The whitewater rafting felt a lot more risky than the sub, to be honest. Because my husband wasn't very sporty. Suleiman was very sporty, but my husband wasn't. He had a bit of two left feet, to be honest. So the whitewater rafting was definitely, like, if I would have had the decision, then I would have rather said, don't do that. But so we didn't see it as risky as other things.
And I wonder if you could tell me a bit more about your life with Shahzada. I understand you met at university. Can you tell me a bit more about how you met and how you knew this was the man you wanted to be with?
I don't know, it was his smile, but he had a lovely smile. I met him with holes in his trousers and half broken chappals, and I don't know, just like a student. We were both students, and that's how we met. He was just a foreign student, and I was like from Germany, but that was about it. But yeah, ragged students. That's what we were.
And when you think about your husband and your son, now that it's 3 years on, is it happy memories that come to mind straight away rather than the tragedy?
Yeah. So working through the book was quite hard. Like, the editing was very hard because I had to confront myself with the tragedy over and over again. Because I would say the last year, I really concentrated on the positive memories, and to really make sure. So now when, your phone shows you memories from, initially that was very hard when a picture of them would just like suddenly appear in your phone. Gives you like that pain. But now it's I'm looking forward to, oh yeah, we were there, and oh yeah, we did that on that day. And so now there's still pain and melancholy connected to it, but more often than not, I would smile at the picture rather than not wanting to see it.
And what are a couple of your favourite memories as a family of things you did together?
We went into a volcano once. That was fun. And not an active one, obviously. So that was in Iceland. That was lovely.
And just going back, you spoke about the walk you did to Glasgow. Could you tell me a little bit more about that and why you did it?
So Suleiman was studying in Glasgow, and he wanted to walk from our home all the way up to Glasgow, and he said he wants to do that, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. I think I didn't realize really how hard it would be, but I thought, well, it would be a fun experience with my son. And, well, unfortunately, because walking was our thing, unfortunately couldn't do it. So I thought to work through my personal grief and to remember him. Because it was also so in the media, it's always about both of them. So I wanted to do something just for him and me, basically, just for us together. And that walk was just for him. So we started at Hampton Court. My brother was there, my niece walked with me, my sister followed us in the car. Then friends joined me on some occasions, but my brother walked with me throughout. And there were days where, the conversations with people, and you know, then there were days where your body ached and your heart ached, but it was, I think, one of the most healing things I think I've done. Just walking through pain, physically as well as emotionally.
And I've seen you say before that you don't think you'll ever move on as such. Is it more for you that it's learning to live with the grief and continue their legacy?
Yes, yeah. I don't want to move on. I want to take them with me, and that's what I'm doing.